We're a great big rolling railroad. Hear that diesel engine's power. We're 1,000 wheels of freight train doing 90 miles an hour. From the Great Plains of Nebraska on to Vegas and LA. Where the Union Pacific can be got the right of way. From the green hills of the prairies to the blue Pacific shore, we'll deliver your great cargo and come rolling home for more. We're 1,000,000 miles of history are shining in the sun. We're the Union Pacific, and our story's just begun.
We're the Union Pacific Railroad people. We can handle it.
Hello everyone, Chris T, NS Horse at SD40 here, and back with another Run 8 add-on review. Today we'll take a look at everyone's favorite SD40 modification, the SD40T-2, better known as the tunnel motors. Before we dive into the details, let's get a little backstory on these units. The SD40T-2 came about from a need to create a locomotive that could handle the arduous task of operating in mountainous terrain, specifically in tunnels and snow sheds. Both the Southern Pacific and Rio Grande had issues with units shutting down due to overheating in tunnels, as the slow trains would create a lot of hot exhaust and the locomotive would ingest that through their cooling systems. The engines would then overheat and shut down. This was remedied by moving the air intakes to the bottom of the car body where they could pull in cooler air from the tunnel floor. 3 roads purchased the SD40T-2, the Southern Pacific, St. Louis Southwestern, also known as the Cotton Belt, and the Denver, Rio Grande, and Western. The SP picked up the most with 229 units ordered. The Cotton Belt, a Southern Pacific subsidiary, had 10, and the Rio Grande ordered 73. After all the mergers and takeovers, the Union Pacific would end up with all of them. By 2008, none were in service on the UP, but many ended up on other roads across the country. The Buffalo and Pittsburgh, New York Susquehanna Western, R.J. Corman, the Wheeling and Lake Erie, and even some roads in Brazil ended up with tunnel motors. Now let's see how Run 8 did with these units. The SD40T-2 pack contains 6 different paint schemes: Rio Grande, Southern Pacific, Union Pacific, a UP SP patch, a Rio Grande UP patch, and a generic Run 8 Western skin. To start, we'll take a look at the Rio Grande unit. The Denver, Rio Grande, and Western SD40T-2 comes in the standard Rio Grande scheme of black with orange speed lettering and orange numbers in the appropriate font. It can be found in the TMU menu as R8 SD40T-2 DRGW01. On the nose, you have the low painted logo and the DRGW zone light package. With the headlight dimmed, the top light illuminates, and with them on bright, both nose and brow lights are illuminated. Also, once you take control of the unit and turn on the control and fuel pump switch, you'll activate the gyro light located in the nose that can be seen when the headlights are set to bright. You also have a slight variation with the shape of the pilot. These feature a more pointed pilot, whereas the SP units in this pack have a more squared off pilot. You'll also notice there are no ditch lights mounted on the pilot. These units come from the 1970s and 80s, back before ditch lights were mandated by the FRA. Up on the roof, you have a Sinclair ice skate antenna and a 3-chime horn, which could easily represent the standard Nathan M3, the DRGW favored, or a Nathan P3, which sometimes found their way onto Rio Grande units. The Rio Grande tunnel motors make a nice addition to the West Coast locomotive roster and fit in nicely with the other Southern Pacific stock and Run 8. Next, let's look at the standard Southern Pacific SD40T-2. The Southern Pacific tunnel motor in this pack comes in the SP's bloody nose livery that they were famous for. You have the scarlet red with the wings on the nose, and also have the red end on the long hood. The rest of the car body is gray with white script lettering and numbers. To find this unit in the TMU, it's listed as R8 SD40T-2 SP01. As I mentioned on the Rio Grande unit, the SP units will have a differently shaped pilot, so you get a little body variation there. And then you get to the SP's classic light package. The SP loved their lights, and the Run 8 team has modeled them on the tunnel motors and their SD40-2s as well. You have the standard headlight above the brow, the undesired emergency light, also known as the UDE light, and the nose-mounted light, and, just like with the Rio Grande unit, it has a working gyro light in it as well. Unfortunately, the UDE light does not work, and again, no ditch lights are mounted to the unit. The light package is replicated at the rear of the unit, along with the non-functioning bug-eyed marker lights. The SP and UP versions in this pack have some nice roof details as well. Right above the air duct and mounted on a metal plate is the firecracker antenna. On the cab roof you have the air conditioning unit, the Nathan P3 horn, and the bell. The bell's location is unique to the SP unit in this pack, as all other units have it mounted on the frame next to the fuel tank on the fireman's side. Now let's move on to something with a little more color and take a look at the UP's variant. As I stated before, the Union Pacific's SD40T-2s are all from the predecessor roads of the Rio Grande, Southern Pacific, and the Cotton Belt. This unit appears to represent a tunnel motor that's undergone some work or perhaps a rebuild and has lost most of the features that it was originally built with. When looking for the UP tunnel motor in the TMU, you can find it labeled R8 SD40T-2 UP01. For starters, you get the famous armor yellow, battleship gray, and red stripe that the UP has used for many, many years. The nose features the UP shield, as does the battery box door directly below the cab window, and you have the appropriate letter font on the cab sides. You'll note the lack of a light package on the nose. Toward the end of the Southern Pacific, they began to remove the excess lights from their units to save money on maintenance costs, and the UP would have most assuredly removed them as well. But even the plated over nose lights are gone and replaced with a standard EMD nose, and the marker lights have been removed as well. The Pilot shares the same shape as the Rio Grande units, and to bring the UP version up to a modern standard, ditch lights have been mounted next to the anti-climber. The roof of the unit features two Sinclair ice skate antennas mounted on a metal plate and a box, an air conditioning unit, a 3-chime air horn, and a working rotary beacon which takes the place of the gyro light. It can also act as a remote control beacon for those of you simulating RC operations. The Union Pacific Armor Yellow unit makes a nice addition to locals and yard jobs in the Southern California territories in Run 8. Now we'll move on to the UP patch job, starting with the SP unit. With the UP SP patch job, you get some more unique variations. These units are made to look like the UP has modified them to fit their needs and given them their own identities. This unit can be found in the TMU as R8 SD40T-2 UP02. While still sporting the bloody nose scheme of scarlet, red, and gray, you'll notice the long hood lettering is different. This is commonly called the speed letter scheme. After the Rio Grande purchased the Southern Pacific in 1988, they retained the SP's name for brand identity and created a modified version of the Rio Grande speed lettering with the SP's name. Therefore, you get the SP speed letter scheme. Notice too the weathering on this unit. A little road grime and rust give the units a nice used look. In addition to the speed lettering, the unit also features a UP patch over the road number with appropriate font, UP sublettering above it, the UP shield on the battery box door, and the UP shield in a patch over the SP lettering on the nose. Speaking of the nose, you'll notice the modified SP light package. The brow headlight has been completely removed, and you'll see where the UD light has been removed and left with an empty pocket. Ditch lights were also added to the unit and mounted above the Pilot on the walkway. Also, there's no gyro light or beacon on this unit, making it the only unit in the tunnel motor pack to not have a flashing auxiliary light. The rear of the unit also has one headlight with the rear headlight package and marker lights removed as well. Up on the roof, you'll find the firecracker antenna mounted above the air duct, an air conditioning unit, and the standard Nathan P3 horn. This UP SP patch job adds a nice variety to the large UP roster in Run 8, adding a unique flair to SoCal operations. And now lastly, we'll check out the final unit in the pack, the Rio Grande UP patch job. This unit represents a former Rio Grande unit patched out for the UP after the 1996 merger of the two roads. You can find this version in the TMU as R8 SD40T-2 UP03. One of the biggest things you'll notice is the worn down paint. The lettering is fading, the unit is dirty, the fuel tank's grimy, and there's a mismatched battery box door on the engineer's side. Just as the unit before, the road number is patched out with the standard UP number font, the shield's below the window, and the patch on the nose only partly covers the Rio Grande logo. Moving to the front of the unit, there are some more distinct differences from the other units. The brow headlight has been retained, but the nose light and gyro light have been removed, as have the marker lights. Ditch lights have been added to the front platform, and, in a slight variation from the UP SP patch, the MU plugs are affixed to the ditch light housing, not to the Pilot itself. Just like the original Rio Grande unit in the pack, the roof is pretty plain Jane. The Nathan M3 is mounted back on the long hood, a single Sinclair ice skate antenna is mounted on the cab roof, and the unit features a working rotary beacon. While not too common, the DRGW UP patch job adds a little splash of orange to those of you going for a late 90s to early 2000s operation. As for the cabs, most of them have the same features. The biggest differences will be the color of the cab walls. We'll take a quick visual look at these and then we'll wrap up this review.
We're a great big rolling railroad, one that everybody knows. We were born of gold and silver spikes 100 years ago. We're a million miles of history, shining in the sun. We're the Union Pacific, and our story's just begun. From the Great Plains of Nebraska to the California seas, from the summits of the Rockies to the mighty redwood trees, we're 1,000 wheels of freight train here, the diesel engine's power. We're the Union Pacific, doing 90 miles an hour. Bound from Omaha to Portland through Cheyenne and Laramie, we're heading west for Boise on the main line to the sea. Across the Flats and Salt Lake City, on to Vegas and LA. We're the Union Pacific, and we've got the right of way. From the green fields of the prairies to the blue Pacific shore, we deliver your great cargo and come rolling home for more. On the backbone of our nation, you can see us make the climb. We're the Union Pacific, and we're gonna be on time. From the green fields of the prairies to the blue Pacific shore, we deliver your great cargo and come rolling home for more. On the backbone of our nation, you can see us make the climb. We're the Union Pacific, and we're gonna be on time.
And that's a look at the Run 8 SD40T-2 Tunnel Motors Pack 1. While this pack caters to the Southern California routes, specifically the Union Pacific side of things, it's a nice pack to have. The tunnel motor was a neat variation of the extremely successful SD40-2 and helped the Southern Pacific and Rio Grande find a way to solve operational headache in mountain territory. To purchase the tunnel motors, go to run8studios.com and go to train sets. There, you'll find the link to purchase them for $20. The link will also be in the description below. Thanks for watching, and hopefully this review helps you decide whether the tunnel motors will be a good addition to your Run 8 install. Keep an eye out for our next review as we take a look at another offering from the Run 8 team. As always, thanks for watching and take care.
Pacific Shore, we'll deliver your great cargo and come rolling home for more. We're a million miles of history, shining in the sun. We're the Union Pacific, and our story's just begun.
We're the Union Pacific Railroad people. We can handle it.